Hey guys, what's going on? This is Satrava here, and in this video we're going to look at TanStack Forms. TanStack Forms is another form library which is by TanStack, and you know it's going to be good. If you don't know what TanStack is, it's basically a bunch of libraries made by Tanner and team. And one of the libraries I use most is TanStack Query, which I also have a video on this channel, and it's a very good library. A lot of people use it, so make sure you go watch that video. But this video is going to be dedicated towards TanStack Forms. It's going to make handling with forms validation a lot more easier and a lot more better. So in this video, we will use that library in a Next.js application and see how you can do validations on the client side, validations on the server side, and etc. So let's get started. Alright, so we are on the TanStack form page on the TanStack website. It says headless, performant and type safe, form state management for TS.js, React, Vue, Angular, Solid and Lit. So basically not just React. If you're using something like Angular, which I don't know why would you do that, but like if you're using that, you can also have support for that. Stop crying over your forms with a return to simplicity, composability and type safe with TanStack form. You can read all of that. We're just gonna dive in the tutorial, so get started. And the documentation, you can just go and read all of that. There's a lot of different things. I really think you should go ahead and read the philosophy part, the comparison part. I think these two are very important, which gives you idea on why they made the choices they made. So yeah, let's go to quick start and you will see how it is done. So basically it's a TanStack/React form package that we need to install. There's a different ways to do this. In this tutorial we're just gonna go to the basic concept ones, and we are just gonna use the use form hook to make things work. Alright, so first of all we need to create a Next.js application. So I have the terminal open and the command ready to go. Just gonna hit enter and just leave everything to defaults. We just need to leave the apparatus. So actually we need to use the apparatus, so make sure that is on yes, because we are also going to use server actions and stuff with TanStack form. So yeah, this is done. Now let's go to TanStack form. And here first of all let's install the package. So bun add, I think it's called as, let's go to the installation section. Yeah, it's called bun add TanStack React form. I'm just gonna copy the package name and go back to terminal and add this. Yeah, perfect. Now I can simply do cursor dot to open my code editor. I am using cursor right now. Just open the code editor you feel comfortable. Just let me rearrange some stuff. Alright, now I'm just gonna get it to full screen. Alright, first of all, before I forget, we need to actually install Zod. This is completely optional, but if you want to make your life easier for validating stuff, I highly recommend that you install Zod. And after this you can just do bun dev to run the development server. We don't need to install any more packages. So yeah, in app we should go to page.tsx. And here I'm just gonna literally remove every single thing. And now we're just gonna do RFC. Perfect. Page. And now we're just gonna have a simple class name here. We're just gonna create a form right now. Perfect. And now I'm just gonna remove this. And now we need to actually work on the form. So how do we do this? First of all, we will create a type with the things that we expect in the form. So type form values. And this is going to be name, which is going to be string, and then email, which is going to be string, and yeah, message is going to be string. And now we can just go here. I would really hope that you don't use what cursor is suggesting, because it's for React hook form, which we are not using right now. I hope someday cursor picks this up and use the proper TanStack form package. So yeah, now we will just do const form is equal to use form. And now here we can have different things. So first of all, the default values, not the default state, default values, and will be an object which will be form values with the type of form values. And now here we're gonna have name, which by default is going to be empty, and email, which by default gonna be empty, and then message. Perfect. And now we are gonna have an on submit, which will basically, this function will be run anytime the form is validated and is ready to submit. So yeah, this can be an async function, by the way, so we can do that. Value, and now we're just gonna console log it, and next we are gonna have validators. So what we can do here is, whenever an input field changes, we want it to be validated, so we can just use Zod. So I'm just gonna import Zod here, import z from Zod, perfect. And now here we can do z.object, and yeah, except this is going to be an email. Okay, something string seems to be wrong. Yeah, we probably need to have a message. Yeah, oh, I actually missed the string one. But yeah, these are the three things we need to validate. First of all, with the email should be an actual email. The name should be minimum of 3 characters, let's say, and the message should be 10 characters. And we are gonna check all of these. So now we are gonna create a new form. So just give me a second. Hold on. Okay. Now, first of all, a normal form, which is going to have a class name of flex call, and gap fold, just for a little bit of styling. And then on submit, you also need to have an on submit here, and this is going to actually do two things: e.prevent default, because you are just doing client operations here, and then form.handle submit, which will basically do the validation, and if the validation is done, everything is fine, it will just run the on submit function. So you don't need to like have validation stuff here itself. So now we need to have fields here. So how do we have input? So like text box and stuff, of course you can use the input tag, but since we are using TanStack Forms, we need to wrap it with something so that it can get tracked easily. So we use something like form, not foreign object, form.field, and this is going to have a few things. First of all, the name is going to be the name. Oops. And the second thing we need to do is have a children. So I'm gonna save. Okay, so for children we need to have a field, and we are going to return some JSX for this. And first of all, I'm just gonna copy the JSX right now. This is just way too long, and I'm just gonna explain you word by word what's happening. Alright, so here we are just having a div, and we are having an label for email, and then we have an input which has a class and a value which is basically a field.state.value. So TanStack form is going to take care of the value for you. You don't need to worry about it. And then on change, and then field.handle change e.target.value. So basically, whenever you create vanilla forms using useState, you're doing the same thing, but you're actually delegating it to TanStack to manage everything, and the validation will be also managed by TanStack itself. And you also need to have the on blurs thing, so very handy. And then we have errors. So field.state.meta.errors.map. So basically this is going to have all the errors, and for each error we just want to display the error in some way. So yeah, and the same thing we need to have for email and stuff. So what you can also do here is just give the name field here. Not really necessary, but you can give. So I'm just gonna copy this and paste it 2 more times, because we are gonna have for email email, and then we're gonna have one for message. So by the way, if you just do control space, you will get the message thing here. So yeah, message, perfect. I would rather just have this as input, not as. Did I mess something up? Okay, it's fine, we'll figure it out. and then we need to finally have the submit button. So it's going to be pretty simple. It's not like rocket science here. So we're just going to go down here. It's going to do button type submit and just have submit here. So if we just go to the browser, so let's go to the browser. I'm going to kick the browser to somewhere else, and now we can just go to localhost 3000. Gonna take some time because I'm recording. Okay, so we need to add use client. I always forget this. Since we are using Next.js, we need to specify which components are client components. So yeah, now if we just reload this, we have email message. We need to edit this. This should be name. Then we have name. I'm just gonna add Atharva. And if we just add two things, it's 2 letters, it's not going to accept. Now I'm just gonna add Atharva here, and then email will be t@t.com, and the message will be something else, which needs to be at least 10 characters. So yeah, this is done, but still what you need to do is like this submit will not work. So if we just go here into the console, and if we just mess something up and just do submit, it's actually not going to log in the console. And if we just have the right thing, it's going to log in the console. So what's happening here is that the on submit function is only run when the validation is successful. So you can consider this function as safe, even though in client side nothing is safe. You need to actually do the validation on the server side, but as long as client side validation goes, you are safe in this function. Any code you run is already passed validation, so you don't need to just validate it again. So yeah, so this is how you can do this in the client side component. And now we are gonna look at how you can do at server side components. But first, what I want to show you, like how you can disable the submit button and show the loading indicators and stuff. So yeah, let's do that. So this is something which I feel that this is way too much to be honest, but like to make sure that like your button is disabled, you need to do something like form.subscribe, which is basically subscribing to some events and stuff, if I'm wrong. And we need to actually wrap this in. So let's just have this here, and now here we need to have selector, and yeah, basically cursor got this correct for the first time. So are you sure this is right? Form state dot is submitting. We need these two things. I don't know why that error was there, but now we can just access that. So we just need to cut the button for once, and now we can simply open this. Then we need to open this brackets, and then we need to have can submit is submitting. And now this is going to be basically a function. So this needs to be a different bracket. Now I can just simply save this, and now if we go back and if we reload this, okay, so we need to actually make sure that the button, yeah, so for disabled, yeah, perfect. And now yeah, I'm not sure why it was enabled first, but yeah, now it's like if you don't have proper things, it's going to be disabled. So t@t.com, and then the button gets enabled, and then it will get locked to the console if you submit it. Perfect. Now this is done. Now we will move to the server side thing. So apart from just client side validation, you also, if you want to also do some server side validation, which is not just your client side validation, but more things like checking if the user is banned or stuff like that. I believe it's for that. So we are gonna see how you can do that specific in Next.js. If you're using something like Remix or TanStack Start, the instructions are different, and those are in the documentation. So let me just show you. In the documentation, if we go, you're gonna see a guide for SSR, TanStack Start, and Next.js. So basically I'm just following the Next.js part here. So just going here, yeah, app router integration, which is basically the Next.js one. So yeah, now let's get started with the server validation stuff. Alright, to get started, we first need to create form options, which is going to be shared by both the client and the server at the same time. So to do that, I'm just gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call it as forms. Don't quote me on what folders I make. Feel free to do whatever you want. I don't even know if I'm in my right mind. So yeah, user message form.ts, and here I'm gonna have something. So now it's going to be the same thing. So like if we go back to page.tsx, it's going to be the same thing. So we will use the type here, except we will also export it here. Don't worry about the page. I'm not going to update it. It's going to be a completely different thing. I'm going to create a new page. Now we need to export some form options. So now we are just going to call it, we are just going to say export const. I cannot type today. User message form opts, and here we're going to say form options, which is going to be something we import from React form. And now here we're going to have default values, which are going to be name, email, message. We don't need on submit here, and this is going to be as form values. And now we're going to have validators here, which is going to be client side validation, and we're going to have on change, and I'm going to copy the Zord schema. Now it's done. We don't need to touch this file again. Now this file will be shared between both the client and the server. Now what we want to do is actually create a new server action, which is going to validate in the server what we are going to do. So next we are going to create new actions folder, and here we're going to give it a new name called as post message .ts, and we're going to have use server at the top, meaning that this is going to be only server actions. And then we're going to have a new function called as const server validate. So basically this is going to be a function returned by a function, which is going to validate your form on the server. So create server validate, and now here we can simply have the options here, user message form options, and then we're going to have an on server validate function. Yeah, but instead of doing this, I want to add a little validation. So we just need to add if value.email is test.test@test.com. I just want to make it t@t.com to make it easier. Then we want to return an error. So return, and so this is going to be a tricky part, but I'll explain you why I'm doing this. But you need to actually have an email here, and then this is going to be an array, and in array the object is going to be message, and server cannot use this, or I can say this account is banned. Okay, so the reason I did this is because we need to follow an error object standard. So like if you're using Zord, it returns something like this if there is an error. So we need to actually also do this here. I try to do this in different ways, but I'm always getting TypeScript errors left and right, and it never wants to work. So I just had to make sure that this always follows this structure. So yeah, if you're not using Zord, it might be different for you. You just need to be consistent on the structure you follow. So yeah, now export async function submit form, and I'm just going to have a prev, which is going to be unknown. We are going to use the use action state hook, and that's why we need this both parameters here. Form data, which is going to be of the type of form data, and now we are going to have try catch block here. And here first of all we are going to have the validation. So await server validate form data. and after that you can do whatever you want, but I just want to validate. And then we are gonna have an error, so we are just gonna say if e instance of server validate error, then we need to return e.form state, but this should be e here. Perfect. I always forget to do that. Now if it's not related to React TanStack form, we just do throw e, which is basically we don't know what this error is, deal with it. So yeah, if there is a validation error, it will just remove it will just like return the error to the client side, and we will get to know that way. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new route called as server, and here we're gonna create a new page.tsx. A lot of the code is going to remain the same, and I'm gonna call it server. And first of all, we are just gonna do the same thing again. We're just gonna go to page.tsx. I'm just gonna copy the entire thing and just paste it here. Now we need to just remove a few things. First of all, we don't need the form values anymore. We don't need Zod anymore. We don't need all of these things. We don't even need validators. We only need the options. User message form options. Perfect. And yeah, I think everything looks great here. Alright, there are going to be some changes that we would need to do, but for now this looks great enough. It's not going to work, I believe, yeah, because we don't, I think it is going to work, but we need to actually make sure that it hits the server action. So now we need to create we need to use the use action state hook. So const state action, and we are going to say use action state, and we need to first pass in the states, the action. So submit form, and the next thing we need to form is initial form state, which is going to be imported from React form Next.js package. So yeah, now what we need to do is we need to use a transform here, so that what happens is that whenever you get data from the server that this is your form data, it actually uses that data instead, and it merges the data and shows, it does not reset the form basically. So now what we do, we use the use transform hook by React form TanStack form, and then we get something like base form. Then we do merge form function. I know this is like confusing, and this is a little confusing, I know, but what's happening here is basically it's merging the base form with the form that we got from the state. So what we got from the action itself, and yeah, this runs whenever the state changes. So basically the form merges whenever there are new data coming from the server, that hey, you submitted this form, this looks wrong, just update that data in your form and see what's wrong basically. So now we just need to do one more thing. We need to do const form errors is equal to use store, and we need to do pass in form.store as the first argument, and then we get form state, and then we need to extract the form state.errors, and now we can just use form errors to just map through all the errors. Now the interesting part here is that it's really not that easy to just do field.state.meta.errors.map, because it's not going to show you the server errors. So if I just save this and just go back and just reload this, actually we need to go to /server, and it's going to do the client side validation really good. But as soon as you add t@t.com and just add some message, and oops, I'm just gonna open the console And if I click on submit, nothing happens. It does not give you back an error, but it should be. So the thing here is that the error way which we use for the client side thing is not working anymore, and we need to use the form errors instead. So I created this, so how you can just use this. So for the name field, we are just going to use form errors dot map. So basically we get multiple errors, and multiple errors have different fields. So I'm going to show you how the form errors looks first of all. So I'm just going to go ahead and console log form errors, and we're going to see how that looks. I'm going to submit this. It's not giving us any error, which is strange. Should be giving us any error. Oh, we need to pass the action here. Action as never. Now if you just go and submit, reload. Okay, I probably am doing something wrong here. Email. Why do I always mess this up? This is supposed to be name, right? Yeah. Now I can just have a t@t.com and the message stuff, and if I just click on submit, we still don't have an error. I don't know why. Alright, so maybe copy pasting was not a great idea, because e.prevent default was here and I forgot to remove this because we're using server actions and we should not be using e.prevent default. So now if we just go back and we use t@t.com and just submit, we will get an array now, and now this array will have an object which will going to be have an email, and which again is having an object and message as this account is banned, which follows basically the horde schema type of thing. So yeah, we constructed that on the server itself, and now here what we are doing is we are basically mapping the form errors, and then we are gonna access the name field and going to map it again and just print out all the errors. We are gonna do the same for email and message. So we're gonna remove this. Just gonna paste this here. The good thing is that it also handles client side errors. So yeah, it says this account is banned. So if I just reload and add something, so you can see it also handles client side validation really good. So I can just say test@test.com, and now I can say any message and just hit submit, and it works. So now if I just use t@t.com and try to submit again, it says this account is banned, and the button now gets disabled because the account is banned and basically the validation failed. You probably should be not using this one. So yeah, this is how the server actions and TanStack form work together. I think this is really cool, and it is something that I would really use if I am building something form intensive. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys really learned and got some value on how you can use TanStack Forms in your Next.js application. This is not just limited to Next.js. Of course, you can use Vite and stuff, but you are going to be using the client-side validation a lot. And if you're using some framework which has server-side things enabled, you need to follow the documentation in order to get things set up. The steps are probably going to be different, but I think most of the things are pretty much the same, especially when it comes to client-side validation stuff. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment below what you think I should be creating in the next few months, what type of content I should be creating, or if you have any doubts and stuff, make sure you leave that in the comments below. It really makes me happy to see your comments. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.